Hey, vinyl community, Jeff here again, and guess what? It is thread time again. Yes, there's some great threads going around. Love to support other channels. This one is in celebration of Boz over at that vinyl channel reaching 3,000 subscribers. So, congratulations on that, Boz. Great stuff. I don't know how long it'll be before I'll reach that milestone, but that's a great milestone to have. And so he wants us to show albums that spell out 3 grand, which of course 3 grand is 3,000. So he's going with that. 2 words, 3 grand. Spell it out with band titles, albums, CDs, whatever you want to show. So, and as is fun to do sometimes with the threads, I'm going a little more in a different direction. Some of the bands are probably a little more obscure. But hey, it gives us the ability to show things we don't always get to show. So let's get right into this. Tamplin and Friends, Ken Tamplin. This is a great album. This is one of, Ken Tamplin has been in Joshua. He's done work with a lot of other bands. He was in Shout. He did his own stuff. This is when he started doing his own stuff. And this is a great album because he had a lot of guests, musicians on here. So there's a lot of special people that show up on here, and so including Ken Mary on drums, Chuck Ryte, from Quiet Riot and other bands, House of Lords. All these guys are from House of Lords and all those people. It's just a great album with all kinds of Lanny Cordola on guitar. Mark St. John does some guitar from formerly of Kiss. And so yeah, it's got a lot of different guest appearances on here. Great stuff. T for Tamplin. H, Head, Brian Head Welch, of course, from Korn. I think this was like his first solo album that came out. He has a book, I think, also called Save Me From Myself. Around the time this came out, he actually came and spoke where I work at one of our chapels, and so this was around that time. But great stuff from Brian. He went on to do Love and Death, which is the stuff he does nowadays, and those albums are great too. R, Rage of Angels, one of my all-time favorite melodic metal, 80s metal albums of just amazing album. I don't know why it hasn't been reissued or whatever. The band only did one and done for the most part. The band themselves, a couple of the guys from the band after this went on to be in Steelheart. And the drummer has passed away a handful of years ago. And so the singer, I think, is still doing, music on the side, but nothing as far as recording that I'm aware of. But absolutely just a phenomenal 80s metal perfection, in my opinion. E, the Exkursions, 70s psych-type rock album that pretty obscure. And they reissued this on vinyl a couple years ago, so I was glad to see that. I think it came from overseas somewhere, I believe. I remember I had to track it down. It was a little tougher to find, but, I did grab this. Again, some cool, obscure psych rock. I don't know if they did anything else other than that. For the second E, we've got Eternal Ryte. Just straight up. It's like they're equivalent to, a glam Poison type band of the 80s. And pretty much a one and done thing. They did some demos and then they did this album and that was about it. But it's a solid, stellar, just 80s glam metal of the day. Just some great stuff there. All right. First, and then for Grand, G, Grammatrain. I know I had them on my wall. All of there's 4 main Grammatrain releases, and 3 out of 4 have been reissued on vinyl. The first one is a demos thing. I had it on my wall. I don't think I ever showed these. I never showed them in a video. Grunge, 90s grunge type stuff. One of the few bands that I kind of paid attention to. And the first one that they reissued was Demo, their first self-released album. Most all the songs except one made it onto their first actual label album, and then this is their second, and then there was a third after this many years later that I'm not sure if that'll be coming out on vinyl. But anyway, this is their I think the more recent one prior to that one that came years later. So like I said, just some cool grunge stuff. Great to see these reissued on vinyl for sure. All right, and then for R, we got Recon. Again, one of my favorite, stellar, near perfection, in my opinion, just 80s melodic US power metal type bands. One and done. Members have went on to do other things. When this came out, I kind of equated it to, and this was like in the late 80s, I believe, or maybe the early 90s, but 1990. I kind of had it, has a Queensryche feel, but really, because at the time I wasn't paying much attention to Halloween, but people were saying it really sounds more like, Keeper of the Keys type era Halloween. And sure enough, it does now in retrospect. At the time, I just thought it was cool, melodic, higher ranged, Jeff Tate type vocals, but definitely in the Halloween type thing. But it was great to see that they reissued that on vinyl years ago. Anyway. And so, let's see, then we are moving on to A. We got Angelica. Angelica is a Canadian band that, melodic, they had some issues with their singer, and so Rob Rock stepped in and did the vocals on this first album. Ken Tamplin from Tamplin and Friends that I showed the first album is the producer. He sings one of the songs. You hear his background vocals on here throughout. Just an absolutely, in my opinion, stellar album. Dennis Cameron on guitars is kind of like the guitar hero of the band. But they just put out some great melodic hard rock, or, the melodic 80s type metal back in the day. So another great one to have on reissued on vinyl. Then we move into N. We've got Nothing Left. Kind of guys from one of my favorite metalcore albums did this, but it's quite a bit. It's got a little bit of metalcore feel, but it's got quite a heavier aggression to it. And so I'll admit I didn't like it quite as much as the band that the guys had come from. It just seems like this is a bit more aggressive and just didn't go over quite as well. But again, I was glad to pick it up. I don't know if they've done anything else. Maybe there was something else, but anyway, one of the more heavier albums in this mix. And I'm showing this because Boz actually showed this band. I was a little surprised that he did. So I'm showing this band, and we're talking Daniel Band. He showed the album that came after this as his D. I'm showing this one. The one that came after this was a bit more, I don't know, they're all just kind of a hard rocking band, but this album is their 4th album. And it had a little more aggression than the previous 3. The one that came after this was a little more back to the original. I don't know. It just seemed like it was a little more on the commercial side. They're all great. Love Daniel Band. Great stuff. And so, yeah, I'm just glad to see them represented. So I'm going to represent them here, too. And so I saw them at Cornerstone in 1987. This lineup, I believe it would have been this album, probably. And so, yeah, just love this band since the 80s. Great stuff. So there you go. There's $3,000. Check out Boz's channel below. Link below. Go check it out. Jump on the thread. Have some fun. Show some stuff you haven't shown before or recently. And have some fun with this. And we'll see you later. Rock on. And rock hard.